Hello, it's Maureen Legas with your 21 Days 2016 series, and today we're at day 13. We're going to go back and talk about dot loop, and today speak about adding different people to the loop. Okay, so we're back in the demo account. We're going to go to use the same loop we used yesterday, and I'm going to go to the eEdge control panel, My Transactions, and go to Transaction Home. And then I'm going to look for, I can go down and look for the loop we worked on, or I can search 1, 2, 3, and it'll pull up everything that has 1, 2, 3 in it. I could put a space, 1, 2, 3 Main Street, Betty Buyer, this is the loop. I'm going to click. It's going to bring me back to the loop we started working on yesterday. All right, now if we want to add people to the loop, a couple of things. When you start a loop, there's a procedure that you should use, or steps that you should follow. The first thing is you give it your loop name. Then before you add the documents, you add your people. And then you add the documents and open the documents, because that way the people will populate based on who you added. So yesterday we were just talking about different folders. Let's say we don't have documents yet. Down here we're going to add people. So your admin is there, and this is me, demo account is there. So let's say I'm going to add the clients. So the first one would be Betty Buyer. Let's see if she shows up. Betty Buyer. I'm going to add Betty. I'm not going to add her to my team because she is a client. Her email comes up, and then her role would be buyer. And then I can add this information if I like. I can send an intro email if I like, and I can click to add the person. Now if there's a Mr. Betty Buyer, you go add Mr. Betty Buyer as well. So who else would you add to this? Well, let's say the mortgage lender. Let's say mortgage. Let me see if I've named, you wouldn't type mortgage. I'm just seeing if I added any kind of strange names. So let's say Mary mortgage lender. Mortgage. Let's say that's her name. I'm going to add her email, and I'm going to add a Gmail account, Maureen Legas plus Mary mortgage at gmail.com. Now, if you're familiar with that tool or technique to use to test something and use an email so it'll come to your email, you put your email in the beginning and then a plus sign, and then the person, like this is Mary Mortgage, the person I want to pretend the email is for, at Gmail. This only works for Gmail accounts, but you could do that, and then anything, oops, I messed that one up. Hold on, let me fix this. At Gmail, I moved it. Cut. See, I shouldn't talk and type at the same time. Paste. Okay, so when you have a Gmail account, you can use your Gmail name. So one of my Gmail accounts is Maureen Legas at Gmail, and then I put the plus Mary Mortgage in there because I want something to come to my email to see what it looks like. And then the role would be lender, loan officer. So I'm going to add the loan officer, can add their information. And then I might want to add the title company. Tammy Title, whatever the title company is. And you want to use their real email addresses. For this test purposes, I'm just making up email, but you want to put your title company in with their email, your lender in with their email, and I'm going to say they're the title officer, closing officer. Let's see. Did I pass it? They are the escrow title, and you can add their information. You can also add, let's see who else we can add, the roles. The listing agent, let's say you have the buying client, you can add a listing agent and share the documents. You can add the appraiser, You can add brokers. You can add your sellers, of course, home inspectors. You can add your home warranty company. All of these different options are available. So the other thing is once you add them, they can also upload documents to the loop. When you add them, they do not have access to the loop. The access is given to them by you. Now the reason we separate the offer folder, let's add this. Let's say this was a listing documents folder. Why we have a listing folder and an offer folder is because the privileges come based on the role. So if I have a listing agent, I don't want them to have access to the listing. If I have a listing agent, then I'm presenting an offer. So let's say I have the buyer. I'm presenting an offer to someone who's the listing agent. Then they wouldn't have any need because we don't have listing documents. We wouldn't have them. But let's say I was the listing agent and I received an offer. I don't want that buyer's agent to access our listing documents. So I have to separate them because once I give them access, they're going to have access to the offer documents. I don't want the listing documents mixed up in that same folder. Compliance likes them separated so that you can send in the listing documents right away, and then the offer documents later on once you get an offer on your property. So make sure you check with your compliance and see how they want that done, but separate the documents by what's in the what would be in those different folders, so that you're only submitting what your compliance officer needs and not extra stuff they have to sort through. Okay, so Tammy Title. Let's say Tammy Title is not going to have access to the referral form, but might have access to HOA docs. So let's see what that would look like. So let's add documents to this folder. So I'm going to click to add the documents. I'm going to click to browse, and I'm going to find the HOA docs. And I'm going to open those, and they get added to that folder. Let's see if there's anything else I want to add. Add document. I'm going to browse. Mortgage approval isn't in the HOA docs, but the rules and regs would be. So I'm going to add rules and regs, and I'm going to close this. So you can see under HOA docs, the rules and regs are there. In the offer folder, I might want to add the mortgage approval letter. Open that. And then I want to close that. So you can see that I have several folders with different documents. HOA, I have rules and regs and HOA docs, offer, the mortgage approval, and referral form. So down here, the people, I have the title company and the mortgage person. So the mortgage person would have access to the mortgage approval letter. So I'm going to click to share, and I'm not going to, this says, do I want to prepare, because I haven't put anything in that document. I'm going to skip this because it's the approval letter. I don't have to add signatures or initials. And who do I want to share the approval letter with? Well, I might share it with the title company and Mary Mortgage, and I might tell them sharing the mortgage approval letter with you. No action is needed. And I'm sharing it as view only. So what are the other options? Can sign and fill in, and they're grayed out. I can't pick them because I didn't add any signatures to those documents. Or can edit in private. So edit in private is for a co-broker. Let's say you send an offer to a listing agent, you send it as edit in private so they can counter offer if they like. But in this case, it's view only. I just want them to view these documents. And then I click share. And now only they have access to that document. That's the only thing I've shared with them. Now the rules and the regs you might want to share with the buyer. So I'm going to share here, click to share. Oops, I'm going to stop this. Hold on a second. I still have the mortgage approval letter checked, so I want to uncheck that. These are the only things I want to share with the buyer. So I click to share, don't have to prepare them. No, I just want to show them, but I'm sharing two documents. So Betty Buyer can view only. Now, if I added signature lines, which by the way, with the buyer on the rules and regs and HOA, I want to add something that acknowledges that they received it. Now these are blank. I'm going to click rules and regs. It's a blank document. I just added this to show the example. But if I want to add a signature line for Betty Buyer, I add that. I say Betty Buyer has to sign this. I save it. And now I go back. And when I do not share, that's okay. No. So I go back here. Now I have the rules and regs that I want to share with Betty Buyer, and she can sign it. The other thing about sharing documents, let's say you have a seller disclosure. So let me add a seller disclosure to the offer folder. So right here I'm going to add a document. Remember to click add document to the proper folder, that you're in the right folder where you want to add the document. Let's say I want to search for templates, and I want to find the template for seller disclosure. Let's see if I can find one. These are all test documents. Seller loop listings, disclosures, property disclosure. Let's say, that imports that. Now I have that in my offer folder. Let's see if that's what I'm looking for. So the seller has to check these boxes, has to click these boxes. And so you would have to add, if it isn't prepared, you have to add the checkbox to the different boxes, and they get to choose which ones that they want to check off. So you add all the checkboxes to all of the things that the buyer would have to, or the buyer or seller, whoever, would have to check off in the document. And then you can add their initials. Add that to Betty Buyer. And you go through and you have this document that they have to sign. Well, now I'm going to save this. Now, when you want to share the disclosure with Betty Buyer, you have to allow her to fill in and sign. She's got to be able to fill in the document because she's got to check the boxes, not just sign. So the type of way that you send this makes a difference on what they're able to do. So make sure about that. Now, just as a point of interest, when I have a buyer, when I have a listing, let's say, and the seller has to fill out the seller disclosure, I will share it with one. If there's a couple, then I share it with one person in that couple as a fill in and sign. And once they fill in and sign it, I share it with the second person as a sign only. If you send it fill in and share to all parties, every time someone fills something in, it takes the other one's initials or signature off. So when you have something that needs to be filled in by the seller or the buyer, send it to one of the couple first and then the other. Okay, now once you have all these people added, they can also add to the loop, and you can introduce them to each other. So on their system, they don't see these people that you've added. So Betty Buyer cannot see the mortgage or title, but I might want to come to the end of Betty Buyer and I want to say introduce Betty Buyer to Tammy Title. And now Betty Buyer can see Tammy Title can see Betty Buyer, and they can send messages to each other through the system. So that would be a positive thing, that you're tracking everything that's happening within your loop. Now, getting your title company and your mortgage company to use this, that's a whole other story, but you can have a little session, invite people, and show them how this could be useful for everybody because everything is stored there. So as any document comes in, you load it, you share it with the appropriate people that need to see it, and you introduce the people to each other that need to be introduced, like the mortgage person can be introduced to the buyer. So that's how we make those connections. All right, so hopefully that will help. I add, for sure, I add the mortgage and the title company to my loops so that they have access. And when documents are uploaded, like the contract documents, I can click and share them as view only so that they get copies. Now, they usually print them out and put them in a file, but that allows me to share it directly from .loop rather than downloading the documents, rather than taking this, downloading, and then emailing them. I can share it right from the loop, and the activity log shows me what I've done so I can track everything that's happening. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the task manager and how that can be helpful in keeping in touch with your clients. Hope you have a great day.